Hi, and thanks for joining us for another episode of Two Guys and a Lot of Wine. I'm Bobby P.
And I'm Rocky H.
And we have a very special guest for the summertime, Mr. Doug Rankin from the Missing Link Wine Company.
Glad
and
to
we
be here.
are in store for some good summer treats tonight, I am sure. Right, Rocky?
I certainly am. I'm looking at him right now. I'm ready to dig in. Why are we talking?
Why are we? Well, we have to at least have a little introduction. And once again, Doug, thanks for joining us. I know you and Rocky have met before, and I think Doug contacted me via a mutual friend of ours, I think.
Yeah, we did a wine
Scott
dinner.
McCoy, I believe.
No.
His daughter, I believe.
Yes,
his daughter.
yes,
That's right.
that's
yeah.
right. I was at a wine dinner at the Charles, and that's where we met.
And Doug brought some of his wines from his company in, and me and Rocky have a few selections of our own. Actually, just I have some selections of our own. We might get to one of Rocky's, right? Or do you have one on the table?
If we have time.
Yeah.
I've got a couple sitting behind me here. But
enough babbling on. We got to jump right into
really
it
want to
because
do 6 wines.
it's
rhetorical.
going to be summer wines or good wines for the summer times, and hopefully we're going to have that tonight. So, Doug, what are we starting off with first tonight?
I think we're going to start off with the Txakoli. This is from Basque Country in Spain, way up on the northern coast. And it's lightly bubbly, it's dry, and it is refreshing.
My wife is actually in studio today. She gives me a hard time for big pours, so I'm going to let you pour yours.
You know it.
But
Bobby,
here-
can you hand me that pour right
she
there?
can't see
yes.
can't see my pour, so next time I'm going to give myself at least.
Do you mind if I pour yours?
Go ahead.
So this is an escanciador. This is how they do it in the Basque wine bars.
Darn it.
And it's going to spill all over the place, but you want to make
I
it look
like
like the ocean water.
Damn it.
But you could, this is for semi-sparkling.
You can do a retake
can
if you
do,
want.
You know what? I'm going to.
Yeah, you can also use the tops of like the liquor bottle tops for the Txakolina. But I've seen, I was at Barcelona once about 7 years ago, and the girl they had Txakolina night. She was on top of the bar pouring like all the way down at her entire height. But yeah, it takes some talent.
Delicious
I don't do that
aroma
because
right off the
I'll
bat.
miss the...
What is some of the history of this particular varietal? Like, where is it? The grapes come from?
Sure, yeah. It's it's almost in the import market. It's relatively new. They've sort of reinvigorated the area about 30 years ago, and they just started exporting. So it was just 10 years ago there might be 1,000 cases brought into the U.S., and now we're probably looking at about 30,000 cases, which is still a drop in the bucket. But it's a grape called Andrabi Zuri. It's a Basque grape. The wine is called Txakoli. No one's expected to be able to spell it or pronounce it, but once you drink it, it becomes like an old friend.
I've always found that an interesting name because when you hear something like Txakoli, your mind doesn't go to anything refreshing. Sometimes you think of chocolate.
You think of chocolate, yeah.
You do think of chocolate, but
Yeah,
this
no chocolate
is
in
far
here at
from
all.
being chocolate.
And it's not spelled.
hope it is.
It's TXA. You know what? I can't. I got 2 letters in. I don't know the rest. That's
Lots of K's and T's
Lots
and a
of-
couple
yeah.
X's, you're fine.
I think it's. I look at it and I'm like, how's that pronounced? Shashevsky? I don't. Okay.
Could be a Russian hockey player. It's hard to
What I'm
tell.
surprised at is, it's been a while since I had one of these, but the bubbles are so incredibly fine. It's
Yeah.
just, it still tingles in your mouth after your top just popped right off there, Doug.
Effervescence wants a way out.
Yes,
it does.
The wine snobs call this frizzante. Frizzante. It's not quite flat. It's not quite.
No, this is
full sparkling. It's just somewhere right in the middle.
This is spectacular. This I can definitely see sitting outside in the summer. This is really delicious. And I think we've talked about this before, Rocky, but Doug, is this the temperature we should be drinking this at? It should be a little colder, a little warmer?
So this is okay here right now. I took it out of the refrigerator about an hour ago. But Txakoli, so a lot of whites we drink too cold. But in the case of something like Txakoli, as cold as you want your Pilsner.
I think sparkling wines. What is my wife saying? I can see your pour. Okay, well, I have to make it pour small again, so she's here listening and watching me. Tell you something, Bobby. I woke up grumpy this morning, but tomorrow I'm going to let her sleep in.
Yep, that's a good idea.
Yeah,
So, Doug, really quick, we can't give the actual prices of things for some
Yeah.
reason on TV. I'm not sure why that is.
Okay.
What's the price range of this particular?
Sure, you'd expect it to be somewhere over 20, but under 25.
Oh, that's still a value.
And this is considered the top producer in the region, Amistoy. So they charge a little bit more, but you can find other Txakolis under the $20
this
range.
is fantastic. Yeah,
Yeah,
this is
it just
really good.
goes on and on, doesn't it?
It does, and I've already finished both my pours already, but I find it fascinating that the flavor is still lingering in my mouth, and there's still a slight hint of effervescence.
100%.
Absolutely spectacular.
Yeah, well, I'm glad you like it.
If you had to describe the fruit in this, I know the one that jumps out at me the most in Txakolina, at least.
I get lemon. But
Lemon.
That's, yeah. I get
Lemon, 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 lemon. Yeah.
100%. And brine. It's right on the ocean. Literally, they're right on the Bay of Biscay there, the Northern Atlantic, and it just washes over the vineyards. It's so moist there in the morning. All the vineyards are trellised above the ground because otherwise you could get a lot of rot, and so they protect that way. But the salt water, it lives in it. That whole.
And this is available right through your Missing Link Wine Company webpage, or is this available?
So we're a wholesaler, importer, distributor. So a lot of stores around here carry this wine. Yeah.
Well, that's a thumbs up on my end.
That is a thumbs up for me.
It's really, no, what's this say, Rocky? There's still some.
Not for long. I'm not going to waste this.
Makes you want to drink the whole thing, doesn't it?
I really, the flavor that's still lingering in my mouth, I haven't experienced that in a while.
It makes me want like a plate of raw oysters. And I think with with the
you nailed it.
salinity and the lemon, boom, perfect.
And alcohol is below 12% most of the time.
So we're going to take it down just a little notch in quality, in my opinion. That's not really the way to look at it, because we're talking about fun, refreshing summer wines. And we're going to go something a little bit less expensive. It's a French sparkling bubbles. It's a brut. It's called a Moor. I think, Rocky, we've had this one before. I'm not sure we did it on the show. There's no varietal. It's just your basic French brut sparkling. There's that top again.
Top doesn't want to stay on.
Yeah.
I think I might
Lose that battle.
I might have
really
a
get you
champagne
in there.
topper in my bag back here, but I
Pass that down.
don't think it makes for good television.
And I'm going to be pretty
Need to
confident that
fumble around at that.
we're not going to have a lingering aftertaste on that. This is going to be a sip that's going to say, oh, that's nice, and you're going to enjoy it and have a few sips, and that's going to be done. But it's inexpensive, and I think it's great to add to your summer wine cellar, your summer cooler, because you can drink a lot of this and put a lot of it out for people, and it's not going to break the bank.
And Doug, we call that the fruit stripe gum effect. The
Yeah.
wines where you take a sip and you're like, ah!
It's effervescent.
Smells good.
It's not going to, you can't say it's terrible. It's just one of those inexpensive sparkling bruts that's good to have on a picnic table if you're sitting in your deck or your boat or anywhere in the summertime.
This is completely different flavor profile. What is the fruit that I'm getting? It's kind of confusing going from that to this.
I have little notes on this, even though I've had it before.
It seems like I taste something almost floral or...
It is yellow fruits and sweet floral notes.
Okay, all right, well,
That is what some of the tasting notes are.
Oh,
And I've had this, I think, 2 years in a row. I brought this out this time of year. I always have some in the house. For if you're having a lot of people over and you don't want to bring out the expensive
Break the
stuff,
bank,
unless it's
yeah.
just three guys like us that we don't need to be good enough. But you can't go wrong on that. I think for between $8.99 and $10.99 for French sparkling, you stay away from the Cooks, stay away from the Andres. That looks better, it tastes better, and you know you're drinking a French sparkling. So.
this is not offensive, especially for that price point.
And this also is available local. I think this is Total Wines, but you can find this in a lot of stores in Connecticut. Just do a Google search and it'll come up as to where it's available. But it's a good, solid choice for a Bubbles.
Yeah. We have thumbs up, thumbs down, and thumbs sideways for the wine, so you can choose.
Oh, that's right.
You want to go like 10 o'clock?
What are we giving this one, Doug?
I'll give it a thumb sideways.
Thumb sideways, yeah?
Yeah.
I agree with that.
I'll give it a thumbs, maybe like 2 o'clock.
I will say it's one of those kind of sparklings, though, that if it starts getting a little warm, it's probably not going to taste too good.
Yeah,
So you want to keep
probably
that
wanna-
chilled.
Yeah.
And I think Doug's wine
High alcohol.
would still be pretty
It's
good,
about
even if it's a little
11 and a
room
half.
temperature.
I can testify to that.
Was it 10, 11?
We're here 11.
Yeah.
So,
That's a pretty popular, people like that alcohol range these days, especially in the summer. You want
In
it
the
lower.
summertime, especially if you're like me, I don't like drinking out in the direct sun. You got to be drinking under the shade somewhere, and if you are, then that's the right alcohol content, I think, if you're going to be drinking wine,
Yeah.
whether it's whites, bubbles, or so forth. You want to keep it in that range.
Yeah, you do.
yeah, I'm not reaching for that 16% Zinfandel in the middle of July. I know people that do.
There are some people that do.
Yeah, to each their own.
So our summer trek so far has turned out pretty positively, though Doug is still the winner with that delicious one we started off with. And my next choice is one of mine again, and we don't do a lot of South African whites. I know we've done a lot of South African reds over the many years, but I don't think we've had a lot of South African whites on the show. And this one, which is the Cape White, really has a pretty high ranking for what it is. I think it's usually 89, 91 points ranked wise, and the price is pretty reasonable. It's between $15 and $16.
Okay.
And I really fell in love with this about 3 months ago, so I bought half a case of this. It is still available if you just do a Google search on it.
Here we are. It's going to taste like lemon. Do we know what the grape is? know
I
that
said
they're
I'll tell you that in one
Chenin-
moment because I do have some information
Chenin
here.
Sauvignon, they call it the Steen. But if they're calling it just a basic white, it's probably a blend of a
It is
lot
a
of
blend.
things.
It is from the Cape Fold Mountains, so it's right on the western Cape. So you get the benefit of the Mediterranean climate. That's right there, I believe.
Okay.
And right there in that 12.5% alcohol.
That's a 12 and a half, yes. So you also get some green apples in this also. And I tend to like South African wines, both red and white. Sometimes their whites that I've had can be a little acidic. This one sort of is a good balance, at least in my opinion, for a summer white.
Smells good.
I like their whites better than their reds. I don't know. Have we ever had a Pinotage on this show? It's a crossbreed with Pinot Noir and Cinsault. And it's some people say it tastes like Band-Aids. I think it just has a really earthy flavor to it, but it's kind of like Merlot with a little bit of plasticky flavor to it.
I also get a little Band-Aid flavor on this one a little bit. I know what you're talking about the Band-Aid, at least the aroma, but it's more green apples and what do we have, hints of grapefruit. I mean, it's a little warmer than I think I would like, but I think it's pretty refreshing.
Got a nice texture.
It does.
Yeah. And I agree with you, a little Band-Aidy, little note on there. Yep.
Just I don't know how else to describe it. Then I call it like if you take some Tupperware and you just smell the Tupperware bowl, that's what I would refer to as that flavor that I get from South African wines.
Do you have anything from South Africa in your catalog?
We do, yeah. We actually, it's a pretty impressive category in general. Like the wines down there are sleepers, and there was sort of the big wave of large producers that made it to the U.S., and now there's a lot of small artisanal producers. That's kind of our world, and really impressive. We just had a fellow from Elgin, the little region in I'm forgetting the name of the greater area there, but down in South Africa. He was in our warehouse last Friday and tasting a bunch of really neat little wines. And I mean, he's got a tiny winery, but there's a lot of people like him now.
Can you get to some really high-end wines from South Africa?
Sure can.
You can?
Yeah,
So
sure can.
You can really get up there.
Yeah.
Any particular years that were really good for...
I don't have the depth of expertise there, but I will say so we've been selling South African wine now for about 5 or 6 years, and what I've seen is, and when I talk to the producers, the variation isn't quite as drastic down there. I mean, they're dealing with heat the way everyone else is, but I haven't seen much variation in the last 4 or 5 vintages we've brought in from these producers.
Yeah, like I said, it doesn't have a long aftertaste, so it's what you would call a really quick refresh swig if you're sitting outside.
Porch pounder.
It's a porch pounder?
It's
It
a
would
porch
definitely a porch pounder. I would definitely give it a almost thumbs up. I mean, I've had this before, so I mean, I'm not going to be biased. I'm just going to be honest what I think of it, at least for my palate, because everybody's palate's different. But it's certainly a fun, easy to drink summer wine. I think people will enjoy it. Price point, I think, is reasonable also for what you're getting.
Okay. Yeah, I'll give it a thumb sideways.
Another thumb sideways, okay. So
not
I think
terrible.
Doug's thumbs up first one is leading the bunch here for the wine.
Oh, that's like by 20 links. Like
20, oh, boy.
for me.
But also, definitely personal preference plays a big
Yeah,
role in all
because I
this
love
stuff.
chocolate. Like, you just don't see that wine anywhere. I mean, I know of a couple of places that sell it. I think Barcelona and Union Kitchen.
I was going to say, Union Kitchen, I think, had one.
Txakoli.
That's correct.
Correct.
But other than that, I don't know of anybody that sells that wine. It's just kind of an esoteric thing that I don't know why it's not more popular, but that's one of my probably top 5 favorite wines.
I'm the Paul Revere of Txakoli, if I can just take that mantle. But we've been pushing it really hard for about 6 or 7 years now, and we can just see our sales of Txakoli have gone like this in the last 5 years or so. A little thing we've coined is that we call it a beer lover's wine or a wine lover's beer. It sort of can bring both people together, unify. I think this country could use unification sometimes. I think Txakoli might be a good place to start.
Txakoli will bring us all together.
Yeah, I think it could.
All right.
History
Let's
is always brought everybody
just
together.
give everybody some Txakoli and we'll all hold
It
hands
always
and
works.
kumbaya.
So I'm curious what this next one is, because this one is definitely one that I've not seen before.
This is fun for me to bring. So I sat talking to my wife Ann about what wines I'd bring tonight. The Amastoy, Txakoli, summer, no-brainer. But I love the whole category of light, chillable reds is a growing category.
Absolutely.
And lower alcohol reds. Now, generally, this wine used to be lower alcohol, but the heat in southern Italy is such now that that's hard to pull off. But it doesn't taste like it's high in alcohol. And it's the great Primitivo, which you don't think of in summer. It's a kind of a nice, kind of bigger, full-bodied red from Puglia. But this one is from these little budded fruits. Berries that pop up about 3 weeks after the main fruit set. Usually they just get rid of it, so the fruit gets more concentrated. Here at Fattalone, he harvests it and makes a light wine from it, and so it's just doesn't have as much alcohol and skin, and you get a nice light rosé. And it's an old tradition down there. They call it riceme, is the harvesting the second budded fruit.
Yeah, there's so many different ways to make rosé. That is not one that you hear of a lot, though.
No, and it's tradition down there, and it's one of the few places where the second budded fruit is worth harvesting.
Are any Lambruscos on your repertoire?
Oh God, yeah.
All right, that's good.
Lambrusco needs an agent, maybe a fine marketing company to get out there and talk about what we're all missing by not drinking a lot.
Oh, we know that. Me and Rocky love our Lambrusco.
We had the Keto Chiarli. What was it called?
Oh man,
that was a semi-sparkling too, a frizzante, and that one was really good.
it certainly was.
Oh,
I like that
Lambrusco,
one.
yeah.
All right, let's give it support. Let's see what this is all about.
So you're going to pass it your way and let you start
you
it.
Beautiful bottle, by the way. Gorgeous.
Yeah, that's his grandfather on the label. So the winery's called Fattalone, and he was a bit of a Casanova. So that's what the word means.
So is this considered a rosé or is it considered a red?
It's considered a light red, but they really, like Cerasuolo, which is sort of, is it a red or is it a rosé from southern Italy and Abruzzo? This is sort of that same line. So some years it's a little lighter, but you can be
That's translucent.
permitted, yeah.
That makes Pinot Noir look like to not.
Yeah, isn't that just totally see-through?
Sweet Jiminy Crickets. That is freaking good.
Yeah.
That is
It's got a little tannin,
absolutely
too.
delicious. This is what you would call a refreshing red summer wine. Wow. I don't even know where to go with that. I mean, there's so much that I like about this.
This is, what do you think for fruit? I'm getting a little bit of blackberry.
There's definitely blackberry there. There's a little pucker.
A little bit of raspberry, maybe.
Definitely black fruits, but I mean,
It's so weird. You look at it, you're expecting it to be like Pinot Noir with bright Bing cherries jumping out of the glass at you, but it's almost like delicate dark fruits, if that makes sense.
God, this can be drank with so much stuff in the summertime.
Totally. So as a non-meat eater, if I were eating meat, pork would seem to jump right out here. Mm-hmm. And so Pasquale, the winemaker, they have a lot of wild boar down in the vineyards down there. So that's one of their
I could see that, yeah.
classic pairings. But this just loves a nice, medium-bodied cheese and a warm day and a nice chill on it, and it's just heaven.
And did we discuss the alcohol content on this one?
So this one is 14%.
It is. Well, it does not taste
You
it.
never know it. That's all I do with wine.
That's date wine, right?
That is
first date wine.
This is the kind of one that you can easily finish a bottle very quickly, and you will feel it. But this is really good.
I'm trying to think of what it reminds me of.
Well, he makes his regular Primitivo that he ages really almost feel like Nebbiolo in some ways. And this almost has a little kind of Nebbiolo vibe to it.
It almost tastes like it's, do you know if it's whole cluster or because it's got kind of that fruity, I don't want to say Beaujolais Nouveau, but it's got almost that semi-carbonic flavor. Not like bananas, but a little bit of a tropical, and it's a dark fruit.
I think probably just because it's a lighter red, so it almost has that Beaujolais kind of feeling.
Maybe,
but
yeah.
I don't know if he does whole cluster. I don't believe so, but you never know. No carbonic on it, but it's the second budded fruit that sort of is confusing because we almost never have wine from that.
And this
source.
you have to be careful how you chill this. You don't want this to be too cold. You want to.
No. Well, the classic Americans make their whites too cold and their reds too warm, and this one definitely treated it more like a white than a red, but not all the way to a white.
Yeah.
I think the temperature we're drinking this right now is absolutely perfect.
This is probably around like 60 degrees, maybe like 55.
Yeah, it feels almost like
Probably
right when it comes out of our warehouse,
the
like the way it is
wine
right
cellar,
now.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
what's the price range on this one, Doug?
All right, so the price range on this, I think, would be probably between 21 and about like the Emma story, right in be 21 to 24, 23,
Fantastic.
somewhere in there. Yeah. And he is a biodynamic farmer, so it's everything about what they do is organic and some. And he even plays music to the vines.
They do say that does make a difference.
Yeah.
We should have a biodynamic show because that is the craze of recent. And when I first read about biodynamics and how the whole how it all works, and they're using the stars and they're taking like the horn of a cow and I don't want to. We're drinking. It's kind of disgusting what they do with it, but they bury it and it's just. And I read about it. I'm like, how in the world is this going to make the wine better? But somehow it consistently does.
Well, I know for music, it's all about the waves, because different types of music have different types of waves. Like they say classical music does very well, but they actually said loud rock music does not do very well. But it is the waves and the sound that can definitely have an effect.
Your information's great. That's exactly. So he does classical music, and he even plays sounds of rain and nature and animals and things like the ambient sounds for it. And it's just about gentle rotation, so the wine's moving.
Amazing.
Yeah, it is science more than anything else.
We're all just bundles of energy, mostly empty space. So, especially.
It's close to home, Rocky.
I mean, what are you going to do?
So this is a tough one, because I thought my thumbs up tonight for the top choice was going to be a white wine. But Doug has thrown a wrench into the mix. And now this one is now a close contender to my favorite. You know what I think I have to do? I have to go back to Doug's first one and try that one more time.
You sure you want to risk it?
Do I have to twist your arm?
And I'm going to do it without the pork. It's going to pop out. I don't get those nice
You know
bubbles
what?
out.
I think I'm going to have to revisit this too.
And I just want to emphasize, please, people who have not tried this, please.
I'm only doing this to irritate my wife.
I'll go along to get along.
Put this on your repertoire, the Txakoli, and I think you will not be disappointed.
This is if rosé and red wine got married and had a child. That is.
I like that.
That is what it would be.
Rocky, I think you just coined something very interesting.
Yeah.
I love that. Do that again. Say that again.
If rosé and red wine had this is the love child of rosé and red wine. You heard it right here.
Some of the marketing, I love that.
The producer,
I love that.
Use that. Feel free to roll.
I don't know if it's ever been used before, but I really like that.
Expect some royalties, like maybe a case dropped off at my house. If you
I've already stolen it, just so you know.
I'm pretty sure nothing's copyrighted here. So
Doug's Txakoli has warmed up a little bit, and you know what? It still tastes damn good.
Yes, it does.
We've talked about this a few other times. What is the storage situation? Like, say you don't finish that. Which would never happen with us. Let's say the average person couldn't finish that. Hypothetically. How long is it good for in the refrigerator if you seal it?
All right, I'll give you a 15-second diatribe. A lot of commercial wine is made to be as good as it gets right when you open it. So the way they manipulate oxygen and they have it all primed. So as soon as you open it, it's great, and you can count on that every time. Wines that are made more of an artisanal process, which they want to age, or at least for a few years, and develop complexity, they are like an underinflated tire. And so when you open them, the air starts rushing in there, and slowly the fruit and the wine starts coming together. It's like adding water to, oatmeal. And eventually you have a complete meal after the wine and the air marry. So this wine will be phenomenal for at least a day or 2 days. And sometimes we have wines that 3, 4, 5 days ago, days in the future, they continue to get better. It's kind of crazy. But you really have to know how the winemaker intended the wine to, evolve.
So for all you barefoot Moscato drinkers out there, now you know why it tastes like crap the next day.
Or a few hours.
And the first day.
I know we've talked in the past about the
air
thing that sucks the air out and you can seal it up. What is that good device called?
Well, there's various devices. I use a Corvin. I want to have a show where we have all these various devices. But the Corvin uses the argon gas. It just displaces the oxygen with the gas, and because the argon is heavier than oxygen, it sits on the top where the layer between the oxygen and the actual juice. So it creates a barrier, and supposedly it keeps it from spoiling. But my experience with the Corvin is kind of all over the place. I've had wines that I've opened up a year later and they tasted fresh, and some of them a week later it's just like it's already just oxidized. It tastes like a bowl of raisins.
And Doug, anything coming up in your company's catalog? Anything that people should be aware of that's going to be popular? Or?
Well, it's the best way to know is we recently caught up with the 21st century and we started an Instagram channel. So Missing Link Wine Company is where you find out all that information. But we hired someone who's young and actually knows what's going on in the world of technology, and she's doing a great job. And so it's helping us get our information out there about what's coming up and what's exciting.
I've read some things that they say the wine industry has slowed down a little bit because a lot of the younger people don't drink wine. What have you seen? Do you still see a growth potential in wine? Is there still a solid core group that's always going to love it? And where do you go from there?
That's a great question, and we've been all wrestling with it. Post-COVID, nothing has felt normal. The wine industry has definitely hit at least a pause and then even a fallback in the last couple of years after about 20 years or 25 years of straight growth. We have some theories, like farmers. You sit around and you wonder, when it's going to rain again. And here, I think we're thinking that prices are definitely higher now because of transportation issues, farming issues, cost of labels now, all of it's gone up. So I think partly it's the economy I think is tight despite what they say, and people don't feel quite as free to spend $22 on a bottle that they used to spend $15 on.
Is the beer market also influenced in regards to wine?
The craft beer market is also, not for all of them, but enough of them has gone backwards also. It's all the seltzers and the ready-to-drink cocktail mixes and things that are kind
Which
of...
ironically is not that much cheaper. When people start adding the prices of people buying a case of this or a case of the cocktail, it's really not any cheaper than just buying a bottle of wine. So
Totally. You're right. And I think it's the flavor of the day also, and also they have the marketing dollars. The wine industry has to step up soon and start advertising. That's one of the reasons we decided to do a Instagram channel, because people really need to the next generation needs to understand wine and understand it's almost timelessness. And, when it's at its best, there's no alcoholic beverage that can compete with wine as far as interest.
But the problem is, I think historically, people who like wine like the history of wine. That involves some intelligence and some learning. Unfortunately, I think some of the generations that just like instant gratification sort of are prone to go towards a more simpler alcohol. So we'll see what the future brings for.
Well, we hope with years comes wisdom.
Yes. Wisdom.
I actually read in Wine Spectator the other day, or it was one of my clickbaits on Facebook, that there is a turnaround in the younger generation, that they're starting to see an uptick again.
Good.
In wine consumption. So
because I was into beer and I switched to wine 22 years ago and have never looked back.
Yeah.
Actually, I don't even have a palate for beer anymore, unless it's a watery light beer. But that's for another show.
Yeah, it's funny. I sell wine, all day, and when I come home, or I do crave a beer.
Yes, you get that craving.
Yeah.
So once again, Doug, time goes by fast on this show. We had 4 wines. We could have done more, but we enjoy our talking. So please check out Doug's wines. I don't know what the future is going to bring for the summer, the rest of the summer. I think we might be taking a little hiatus, but we'll let you guys know. But Doug, thanks for joining us on the show. You've been a great guest.
My pleasure.
Thank you. Some of the best wine you've had in a long time. Rocky, I would say thank you, but you didn't bring damn thing.
Well, are we going to choose a best in class?
Oh, the best in class. Yeah. Well, it's going with Doug's Txakoli.
I got to go with the Txakoli. I probably would have done that before we even started drinking them, just because that's kind of my
it's really
bag right there.
Everything was good with the chocolate ones, but that summer red is up.
That's a really cool red. I would recommend. Where is that sold?
Am I allowed to name places?
Yeah, sure, yeah.
Oh, sure. So, you can find that over at Maximum Beverage. Okay. I believe the Weisel Dog and Harvest and Gillette Wines, they all carry it. Yep.
So once again, thanks for watching Two Guys, a Lot of Wine, making us so popular, and we hope you all have a great summer. And if we don't see you again this summer, we'll see you in September. So keep all of us in your wine cellar.